What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to VeVe Investments. In today's episode, we're talking about some of the sets that I see the most potential in on the app right now. From Marvel to DC to Disney, we discuss them all. So if you guys are interested in finding out what those sets are, make sure to stay tuned. We cover them all in this episode. So yesterday I did update the site so that the sidekicks are now being displayed for the GCU. So in light of that news, I have hidden a promo code in this video. So if you guys do happen to find it and you are the first one to find it, you guys can toss that in at checkout and get yourself a free comic. So without further ado, we're talking about 15 sets on VeVe. Let's hop into the first one, and a little congrats to whoever finds the promo code. So we're starting things off with a set that most people will probably expect, and that's going to be the Batman Black and White Series 1, aka the first ever set to drop on VeVe. Now, on top of being the first set to drop on the app, these are also to be the first DC and Batman collectibles on the blockchain, and this has been confirmed by DC in the past. So these, of course, are going to be popular collectibles in real life. I think David had mentioned that there's only a handful of people that actually have all of the physical statues from start to finish. So if you happen to be somebody on VeVe who has all of them, that's quite an accomplishment in and of itself. And out of the series, the two most popular ones are going to be Todd and Rizzo, Todd being the first ever piece to drop on the app. Next up, let's talk Golden Moments, so another series that probably comes to mind for a lot of people. Now, this series will be known as Disney's first ever collection on the app, but also on the blockchain. Now, just to be clear, technically their first ever drop was Spider-Man, but I'm talking about a collection with Disney's actual branding. Now, these are also going to be pieces that are related to significant statues that you can find around the Disney parks. I do want to be clear, however, that the second point I have on screen is technically wrong. I do say that the statues are only available in the parks. There is Golden Moments merchandise that is sold, so I am wrong about that, just to clarify. But something I'm also thinking about now in light of all this patent news coming out over Twitter, and shout out to, I think his name was Aeronaut, I'm not 100% sure, but I did screenshot all of his posts, and I am going to be making a video on the Disney patents. But I'm now taking into consideration a term being used by Disney, location-based NFTs. And a part of these documents, you can actually read that they're thinking about introducing AR, VR, or MR park experiences exclusive to these NFT holders, among a bunch of other stuff that we'll get into in that episode. Next up, let's talk a little bit about Star Wars Luke Skywalker. So Luke Skywalker for Star Wars is like Mickey Mouse for Disney. He's obviously a major character for the franchise, right? His character's journey has inspired generations of Star Wars fans and continues to captivate new audiences. And the original trilogy and subsequent films featuring Luke have collectively grossed billions of dollars around the world. Now, the character in recent films is starting to get really old, right? But his legacy has continued through various mediums, including sequels, animated series, and expanded universe novels. So it's my personal opinion that Luke is not going anywhere anytime soon. I think he's here to stay and for a long time. Now, sticking with the theme of Star Wars, let's talk Vader. So he's going to be one of the most popular villains in cinematic history. He's a merchandising powerhouse, and he can be found on an endless array of products. His iconic status has led to the creation of countless memes and internet jokes. And he's also responsible for some of the most memorable quotes in film history. So I think when you take into consideration the amount of active users on the app, and you saw the amount of hype and anticipation for characters like Vader, or even Luke actually, we have such a small pool of people compared to what could potentially be on the app. And if this small pool of people is as interested as we are in characters like this, imagine what happens when the masses are here. So I thought we'd just keep all the Star Wars ones together, and we're now talking about Boba. So despite having limited screen time in the original trilogy, Boba Fett has become a fan favorite character. Now, similar to Luke and Vader, his popularity extends beyond the original trilogy, and he's made appearances in various forms of media, including animated series. Now, we did mention his limited screen time in the past. That seems to be changing now. He did make a highly anticipated return in The Mandalorian, and now he's been reintroduced to younger generations in his series on Disney+. So similar to Luke, I think he's here to stay. But again, we've mentioned this time and time again in the past. He's the highest grossing Star Wars character for the entire franchise in the physical collecting space. Next up, I love me some Steamboat Willie. So I love this series. This character is obviously going to mark the official debut of Mickey Mouse to the public back in 1928 or 29, I think it was. He's renowned even to this day for being one of the first synchronized sound cartoons, so having the animation synchronized to the audio. He's almost a century old, but despite that, Steamboat Willie has retained his timeless appeal. He is still going to be Disney's intro animation to this day. And the success of the character helped establish the company as a dominant force in the animation industry. Now, the original short film is going to be 2D, but one thing to note about this piece on VeVe as well is that this piece has been turned into a 3D animation. He's known for pioneering the animation industry because of the synchronized audio and things like that. And now, as we transition from Web 2 to Web 3, he's been upgraded from a 2D character animation to a 3D animation, courtesy of VeVe. Next up, we're still talking about Disney, but this time the Lenticular card series. So this is a unique series on the app. There's nothing else really like it right now. But each one of these cards are going to be obviously major characters for Disney. They're going to represent the newest iterations of the characters that Disney is currently using. I have on screen that they're animated. Now that I think about it, it's not really animated, but they change based off the angle that you're looking at. They each come with their own audio clip, and each of them has their own signature on the back. So there's a ton of value that comes with these pieces, in my opinion. And you guys know me, I argue that the first signature is the one on these cards. And we do have the date on the blockchain to prove that these came before the actual signature. Or I shouldn't even say actual signature, I just mean like the standalone signature. You guys know what I mean. Next up, I think this series is slept on. We have the anime Ultraman series all the way back from season 1. Now, Ultraman first aired back in 1966 and since spawned numerous TV shows, movies, and spin-offs. He's an iconic character in the world of Japanese superheroes. And speaking of Japan, localization is now starting to be introduced on the app. Japanese is one of the languages that was introduced. So as a result of that happening, now on the web app and mobile app, we have seen prices start to go up on these pieces, on all Ultraman pieces actually, including Series 2. So that is something to consider now that these markets are starting to hop on the app because they can, right? There is no language barrier. These are brands that they're familiar with and interested in. Next up, we're going to have DC's Superman. So this is going to be one of my favorite collectibles on the entire platform. I think it's such a good looking piece, but it's also going to be a one pose, one collectible set. He has the iconic S for the shield on his chest, which has become instantly recognizable worldwide, as well as one of the most enduring symbols in pop culture. Now, he made his debut back in 1938, which created the superhero genre, but it also laid the foundation for the entire DC universe. So that, of course, is a big deal. Since then, the character's gained a massive international fan base, and the demand for his merchandise remains strong. But like I said, great looking piece. We actually just did a collectible showcase on this piece, which a lot of people seem to enjoy. But the price on him has come down quite a bit. So if you're looking to grab him, here's a little motivation for you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, double quill. And D, and Hanano. Next up, one of my favorite things to collect on the app now, and that's going to be the concept art. So these, I think, are going to be great sets in the future. Keep in mind, these are representations of Disney's most beloved characters before their designs were actually finalized. And they're back from when they were actually developing the storylines and filming the movies. To me, that's huge. Think of people like Mater from Cars. Think of how big of a character he's become. All the little short films that Disney has done with that character. The common piece for that set is a concept version of Mater. It's the same with Dory and Nemo. These are two huge characters, and you're getting drawings from the actual creators of the films. Again, you show that to any Disney collector and their eyes are going to widen. So I definitely see value in these pieces long term, but on top of that, you also get some cool backstories with them. Next up, we have what I think might be a bit of a controversial one. So I have a feeling some people might disagree with me on this one, and I want to explain exactly why I added this to the list. So when I think of Star Wars, I think of three main lightsabers. I think of Yoda, I think of the Skywalker lightsaber, and I think of Darth Vader. All three of those have already dropped on the app. Yoda's and Skywalker's obviously being part of this set, and then Darth Vader's dropping with his actual statue. Now let's put Yoda and Darth Vader aside for a sec. Let's just focus on the Skywalker lightsaber. This lightsaber is going to be the most important one in my opinion. So it was Anakin's original lightsaber. It was then passed down by Obi-Wan to Luke Skywalker, and then later used by Rey in the newer films. So it's been passed around and used by a lot of Jedi, so it has its legacy. So for those reasons, plus with having Yoda's lightsaber in there as well, I do see value in this set long term. But here's also a little fun fact for you guys that I found out while making this video. This exact set with Kylo Ren's and Ahsoka's, this exact set dropped on Fortnite at the exact same time it dropped on VeVe. I don't know if anyone pointed this out when it happened. I didn't see it, but I typed these in on Google and this photo popped up with Fortnite. And I was like, hang on a sec. It says May of 2022. I'm pretty sure that's exactly when they dropped on VeVe. And sure enough, here's the Medium article. So I thought that that was kind of interesting. I'm not saying there's going to be anything that comes from that. I'm just a little fun fact for you guys. You know me with fun facts, but yeah, if you didn't know, now you do. Okay, now these ones are super obvious. So let's just run through these ones. Peter Parker Series 1 was marked as Marvel's first ever drop on VeVe. And as I mentioned earlier on in the video, it is technically Disney's first ever drop as well. Now, aside from just VeVe, Peter Parker is also going to be the first Marvel and Disney NFT on the blockchain. And this has been confirmed as well. But my memory is a little foggy as to who confirmed it. I can't remember if it was Marvel directly themselves or if it was the team confirming it on Marvel's behalf. But either way, I do know that this was the final verdict. And then speaking of Miles Morales, he's obviously going to be the new Peter Parker for younger generations. Next up, I do think the Marvel Mighties could potentially have some value in the future, depending, keyword, depending on how they are used. So in the past, we've talked about the potential for gamification. There are many series now, and there are a lot of large character first appearances in these series. And then we've also had Alex talk about the potential for VeVe-verse gated sections. We speculated about how these would be great series to do that. So I'm not saying these are going to have utility, but I am bringing up the fact that they could potentially have it in the future. So for those reasons, and provided the fact that they keep releasing these series into the future and there's going to be dozens and dozens of them, completing the first set and having them all would definitely be an accomplishment. Now we're going to talk about one more set before we hop into some honorable mentions here, and that is going to be the VeVe Logos. So I do have the recent set that just dropped. I am also talking about the older VeVe Logos as well. But similar to the Marvel Mighties, there is going to be the potential for future utility with these pieces. I say that because there is no IP tied to these pieces whatsoever, right? So the fate of these depends on the success of the business. So whether it's providing access to certain things in the VeVeverse, maybe access to certain accessories, maybe access to certain events at conventions, whatever it may be, I think these would be the perfect set to introduce stuff like that with. If you're also a supporter of VeVe and just believe in what they're doing, these are also great pieces to just have in your collection. Now, in terms of some honorable mentions, we're going to breeze through these ones, but I do want to mention the remaining sets for the Mickey Mouse NFT collection. That's going to include Mickey Mouse and the Band, Mickey Mouse Fantasia, and then Mr. Mouse. All four sets, with Steamboat Willie being the other one, represent key short films in Disney's history. I do also want to mention Patrick Hughes' retrospective art. These are going to be some of my favorite art on VeVe. He provides very unique pieces, and there's demand for his physical art as well, with his pieces going for tens of thousands of dollars. I do also want to mention the Hulk. Although I'm not too big of a fan of how this piece looks, it is going to be animated, it is going to be a one pose, one set collectible, and it is going to be the first appearance of a major character in the MCU. And last but not least, speaking of the MCU, just so we don't keep this list too long, of course I'm missing many, but I want to include Thanos. So this piece is actually funny to me because the Infinity Gauntlet costs more than the ultra rare Thanos, who is wearing the Infinity Gauntlet with all of the stones in it, and you get Thanos on top of it. So make of that what you will, but I think these are two pieces that not only look great, but there's going to be demand for them in the future. Ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. just a little reminder for you guys, we are now displaying the sidekicks over on the site. And if you guys haven't found that promo code in this video, maybe rewind, go back, try and find it before somebody else does. But that promo code is going to allow you to redeem a free comic of your choosing over on the site. So if you guys are looking to pick up one of them and do so without spending a few bucks, then now's your chance. But if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for our next, I'll catch you then.